let's start with the class. Let me share the screen. Oh, okay, and Jesus is typing. Oh, yeah, I know. Let me share the screen. Oh, it's okay, Karen, don't worry. Okay, so I don't know. I think we can start because so the class is about a video. I don't know if the teacher Liliana sent you the link by email, but yeah. So the topic is why we all need to practice emotional first aid. So to answer all these questions, so we have to watch this video. It's a little bit long, so I think it's good. Let's start right now with the video. Please let me know if you can hear the video and oh, yeah, for sure. 1 second, let's wait. Let's see here.
I grew up with my identical twin, who was an incredibly loving brother. Now, one thing about being a twin is it makes you an expert at spotting favoritism. If his cookie was even slightly bigger than my cookie, I had questions. And clearly, I wasn't starving. When I became a psychologist, I began to notice favoritism of a different kind. And that is how much more we value the body than we do the mind. I spent 9 years at university earning my doctorate in psychology, and I can't tell you how many people look at my business card and say, "Oh, a psychologist, so not a real doctor." As if it should say that on my card. This favoritism, we show the body over the mind. I see it everywhere. I recently was at a friend's house and their 5-year-old was getting ready for bed. He was standing on a stool by the sink, brushing his teeth, when he slipped and scratched his leg on the stool when he fell. He cried for a minute, but then he got back up, got back on the stool, and reached out for a box of Band-Aids to put one on his cut. Now, this kid could barely tie his shoelaces, but he knew you have to cover a cut so it doesn't become infected, and you have to care for your teeth by brushing twice a day. We all know how to maintain our physical health and how to practice dental hygiene, right? We know it since we were 5 years old. But what do we know about maintaining our psychological health? Well, nothing. What do we teach our children about emotional hygiene? Nothing. How is it we spend more time taking care of our teeth than we do our minds? Why is it our physical health is so much more important to us than our psychological health? You know, we sustain psychological injuries even more often than we do physical ones, injuries like failure or rejection or loneliness. And they can also get worse if we ignore them, and they can impact our lives in dramatic ways. And yet, even though there are scientifically proven techniques we could use to treat these kinds of psychological injuries, we don't. It doesn't even occur to us that we should. Oh, you're feeling depressed. Just shake it off. It's all in your head. Can you imagine saying that to somebody with a broken leg? Oh, just walk it off. It's all in your leg. It is time we close the gap between our physical and our psychological health. It's time we made them more equal, more like twins. Speaking of which, my brother is also a psychologist, so he's not a real doctor either. We didn't study together, though. In fact, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is move across the Atlantic to New York City to get my doctorate in psychology. We were apart then for the first time in our lives, and the separation was brutal for both of us. But while he remained among family and friends, I was alone in a new country. We missed each other terribly, but international phone calls were really expensive then, and we could only afford to speak for 5 minutes a week. When our birthday rolled around, it was the first we wouldn't be spending together. We decided to splurge, and that week we would talk for 10 minutes. I spent the morning pacing around my room, waiting for him to call, and waiting, and waiting. But the phone didn't ring. Given the time difference, I assumed, okay, he's out with friends, he'll call later. There were no cell phones then. But he didn't. And I began to realize that after being away for over 10 months, he no longer missed me the way I missed him. I knew he would call in the morning, but that night was one of the saddest and longest nights of my life. I woke up the next morning. I glanced down at the phone, and I realized I had kicked it off the hook when pacing the day before. I stumbled out of bed, I put the phone back on the receiver, and it rang a second later. And it was my brother. And boy, was he pissed. It was the saddest and longest night of his life as well. Now, I tried to explain what happened, but he said, I don't understand. If you saw I wasn't calling you, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call me? He was right. Why didn't I call him? I didn't have an answer then. But I do today, and it's a simple one. Loneliness. Loneliness creates a deep psychological wound, one that distorts our perceptions and scrambles our thinking. It makes us believe that those around us care much less than they actually do. It makes us really afraid to reach out because why set yourself up for rejection and heartache when your heart is already aching more than you can stand? I was in the grips of real loneliness back then, but I was surrounded by people all day, so it never occurred to me. But loneliness is defined purely subjectively. It depends solely on whether you feel emotionally or socially disconnected from those around you, and I did. There is a lot of research on loneliness, and all of it is horrifying. Loneliness won't just make you miserable, it will kill you. I'm not kidding. Chronic loneliness increases your likelihood of an early death by 14%. 14%. Loneliness causes high blood pressure, high cholesterol. It even suppresses the functioning of your immune system, making you vulnerable to all kinds of illnesses and diseases. In fact, scientists have concluded that taken together, chronic loneliness poses as significant a risk for your long-term health and longevity as cigarette smoking. Now, cigarette packs come with warnings saying this could kill you, but loneliness doesn't. And that's why it's so important we prioritize our psychological health, that we practice emotional hygiene. Because you can't treat a psychological wound if you don't even know you're injured. Loneliness isn't the only psychological wound that distorts our perceptions and misleads us. Failure does that as well. I once visited a daycare center where I saw 3 toddlers play with identical plastic toys. You had to slide the red button and a cute doggy would pop out. One little girl tried pulling the purple button, then pushing it, and then she just sat back and looked at the box with her lower lip trembling. The little boy next to her watched this happen, then turned to his box and burst into tears without even touching it. Meanwhile, another little girl tried everything she could think of until she slid the red button, the cute doggy popped out, and she squealed with delight. So, three toddlers with identical plastic toys, but with very different reactions to failure. The first two toddlers were perfectly capable of sliding a red button. The only thing that prevented them from succeeding was their mind tricked them into believing they could not. Now, adults get tricked this way as well all the time. In fact, we all have a default set of feelings and beliefs that gets triggered whenever we encounter frustrations and setbacks. Are you aware of how your mind reacts to failure? You need to be. Because if your mind tries to convince you you're incapable of something and you believe it, then like those two toddlers, you'll begin to feel helpless and you'll stop trying too soon or you won't even try at all. And then you'll be even more convinced you can't succeed. You see, that's why so many people function below their actual potential. Because somewhere along the way, sometimes a single failure convinced them that they couldn't succeed and they believed it. Once we become convinced of something, it's very difficult to change our mind. I learned that lesson the hard way when I was a teenager with my brother. We were driving with friends down a dark road at night when a police car stopped us. There had been a robbery in the area and they were looking for suspects. The officer approached the car and he shined his flashlight on the driver, then on my brother in the front seat, and then on me, and his eyes opened wide and he said, "Where have I seen your face before?" And I said, "In the front seat." But that made no sense to him whatsoever, so now he thought I was on drugs. So he drags me out of the car, he searches me, he marches me over to the police car, and only when he verified I don't have a police record could I show him I had a twin in the front seat. But even as we were driving away, you could see by the look on his face, he was convinced that I was getting away with something. Our mind is hard to change once we become convinced. So it might be very natural to feel demoralized and defeated after you fail, but you cannot allow yourself to become convinced you can't succeed. You have to fight feelings of helplessness. You have to gain control over the situation. And you have to break this kind of negative cycle before it begins. Our minds and our feelings, they're not the trustworthy friends we thought they were. They're more like a really moody friend who can be totally supportive one minute and really unpleasant the next. I once worked with this woman who, after 20 years of marriage and an extremely ugly divorce, was finally ready for her first date. She had met this guy online, and he seemed nice, and he seemed successful, and most importantly, he seemed really into her. So she was very excited. She bought a new dress, and they met at an upscale New York City bar for a drink. 10 minutes into the date, the man stands up and says, "I'm not interested," and walks out. Rejection is extremely painful. The woman was so hurt she couldn't move. All she could do was call a friend. And here's what the friend said: "Well, what do you expect? You have big hips, you have nothing interesting to say. Why would a handsome, successful man like that ever go out with a loser like you?" Shocking, right, that a friend can be so cruel. But it would be much less shocking if I told you it wasn't the friend who said that. It's what the woman said to herself. And that's something we all do, especially after a rejection. We all start thinking of all our faults and all our shortcomings, what we wish we were, what we wish we weren't. We call ourselves names, maybe not as harshly, but we all do it. And it's interesting that we do, because our self-esteem is already hurting. Why would we want to go and damage it even further? Right? We wouldn't make a physical injury worse on purpose. You wouldn't get a cut on your arm and decide, "Oh, I know, I'm going to take a knife and see how much deeper I can make it." But we do that with psychological injuries all the time. Why? Because of poor emotional hygiene. Because we don't prioritize our psychological health. We know from dozens of studies that when your self-esteem is lower, you are more vulnerable to stress and to anxiety, that failures and rejections hurt more, and it takes longer to recover from them. So when you get rejected, the first thing you should be doing is to revive your self esteem, not join Fight Club and beat it into a pulp. When you're in emotional pain, treat yourself with the same compassion you would expect from a truly good friend. We have to catch our unhealthy psychological habits and change them. And one of the unhealthiest and most common is called rumination. To ruminate means to chew over. It's when your boss yells at you, or your professor makes you feel stupid in class, or you have a big fight with a friend, and you just can't stop replaying the scene in your head for days, sometimes for weeks on end. Now, ruminating about upsetting events in this way can easily become a habit, and it's a very costly one. Because by spending so much time focused on upsetting and negative thoughts, you are actually putting yourself at significant risk for developing clinical depression, alcoholism, eating disorders, and even cardiovascular disease. The problem is, the urge to ruminate can feel really strong and really important, so it's a difficult habit to stop. I know this for a fact, because a little over a year ago, I developed the habit myself. You see, my twin brother was diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. His cancer was extremely aggressive. He had visible tumors all over his body. And he had to start a harsh course of chemotherapy. And I couldn't stop thinking about what he was going through. I couldn't stop thinking about how much he was suffering, even though he never complained, not once. He had this incredibly positive attitude. His psychological health was amazing. I was physically healthy, but psychologically, I was a mess. But I knew what to do. Studies tell us that even a 2-minute distraction is sufficient to break the urge to ruminate in that moment. And so each time I had a worrying, upsetting, negative thought, I forced myself to concentrate on something else until the urge passed. And within 1 week, my whole outlook changed and became more positive and more hopeful. 9 weeks after he started chemotherapy, my brother had a CAT scan, and I was by his side when he got the results. All the tumors were gone. He still had 3 more rounds of chemotherapy to go, but we knew he would recover. This picture was taken 2 weeks ago. By taking action when you're lonely, by changing your responses to failure, by protecting your self-esteem, by battling negative thinking, you won't just heal your psychological wounds, you will build emotional resilience. You will thrive. 100 years ago, people began practicing personal hygiene, and life expectancy rates rose by over 50% in just a matter of decades. I believe our quality of life could rise just as dramatically if we all began practicing emotional hygiene. Can you imagine what the world would be like if everyone was psychologically healthier? If there were less loneliness and less depression? If people knew how to overcome failure? If they felt better about themselves and more empowered? If they were happier and more fulfilled? I can, because that's the world I want to live in. And that's the world my brother wants to live in as well. And if you just become informed and change a few simple habits, well, that's the world we can all live in. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys. So this is the first question about the video. So what's Dr. Winch's point about favorite teams? He mentioned something about this at the beginning of the video. Do you remember? Mario, maybe?
Um, I'm thinking, I know he was talking about his twin,
Yeah.
um, how was he connected with him, um, but I don't remember exactly when he said favoritism.
He mentioned also something about that, yeah, about his twin, but after that, he mentioned something that when he grew up, he began
About
to.
cookie?
Hello.
It was about a cookie.
Yeah, but also wait, give me 1 second. I think Karen. 1 second, Karen. Um, yeah, that was like a story about a cookie or something like that. But he mentioned something more important that um that he realized that when he grew up, um, he noticed that maybe for people was more important the body than the mind or something like that, that the mental health.
Uh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, we prefer like take care of our bodies than our minds. So I understand there is a favoritism in us to prefer the body, the superficial things. No, right?
Yeah, but do you think that it's more important maybe the body than the mental health?
I
Or
think it is important to have a balance in
yeah,
both of them. It is important to take care of the mental health, but also the body health. No.
yeah. So let me see, Karen. Okay, the video is about usually don't care about our emotional well-being. Some people just and emotions. Say, mhm. Oh yeah. Karen is talking about something important here, and he said like we need support, especially from the family members. Uh, but yeah, I have a question about like this, especially I don't know if Jesus or Karen can participate, but um, so have you lived maybe like favorite teams in your house in your family? So I don't know if you have brothers or something like that, or now with your brothers in general with your family. I don't know, Mario. I think today is just Mario.
Um, I have a sister, a little sister, and a bigger brother than me. I'm just at the middle. And well, my mother is pretty fair with that. I mean, she gives to every one of us love and care and all that kind of stuff. But I think she preferred the oldest brother. I don't know why.
Okay. I think Jesus is typing. I don't know what happened today with Carolina. Okay, the let me see. Participants. Okay, Karen is here. Michelle isn't here. Okay, Sebastian and Andres attended yesterday. Okay, just Jesus, Karen, and Michelle and Carolina. Okay, okay. I thought Jesus was typing, but I don't know. But okay, let's continue with the next question. So, do you believe that self-esteem plays a very important role in the way we handle our emotions?
For me, yes, it is pretty important. I
Why?
think I think when we have a good self-esteem, we find a balance in our emotions and how emotions do things in our lives. I think when you love yourself, you allow you to. have a better behavior in life.
Yeah.
And also it's about mental health also.
Okay. So yeah. So do you think that, for example, a person who maybe has a low self-esteem, um, I don't know, is more vulnerable to suffer, for example, anxiety? Like,
Yeah. Also in the video, the men talk about when we don't have like a good behavior with our mental health or like good habits in mental health that could be like a sickness or problems in our body. I mean, can cause problems with our bodies. No, right?
yeah. So, okay, Karen say, yes, teacher, when we love ourselves, we don't care about what other people think about us. We are stronger. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I think, for example, I think when a person has a bad self-esteem, so I'm gonna put like an example when she or he like uh, break like in end like a relationship. I think, do you think that maybe for a person who has a bad self-esteem, it's hard to overcome like this situation, for example the rejections or the failures?
Not at all. No, I think it's get even worse for him if he have self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think the same. So, and also, for example, um like I don't know if you have lived that, but in my case, yeah, in the past, like for example, I used to think that old people was like against me or something like that. But I think this is an effect to for have like a low self-esteem. Or what do you think? Like you think like for example, um okay, so this is going like bad, it's my fault and everything that happened, it's my fault, and I don't know, yeah, you think that people is against you when you have a low self-esteem.
I think it happens a lot, and it happens also that I feel like in my mind because I've been through that also. I have been in my mind all the time thinking in what the people is saying and what the people is thinking, and it's really a waste of time.
Yeah, so you mean that for you it's maybe more important the opinion from other people than your own opinion?
Maybe I feel in that way sometimes in my life when the people I think is against me and I feel that everybody hates me. I used to think in what the people think about me all the time, and I think it's bad for the mental health because at the end of the day you don't have control in what the people think of you, or if they think you are doing bad things or bad thing in your job maybe. So I think yeah, it's put against many persons who don't even know you feel like that.
Yeah, but maybe so do you feel like in this way but in a specific situations, or like for example you mentioned in your job?
I think it's when I'm depressed that happened to me, and yeah, it's basically in the job because there is more social interaction for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm now pretty good. I mean I have a problem with depression, not that big, but I already start to take pills and I feel better. I think
Oh,
it's when I study and I work at the same time that I feel like that.
yeah, I can understand. Could be hard. But for example, when you have that kind of thoughts, how do you control them? How do you control like your mind?
So I try to relax to do another thing. I also find the painting, and so I start to paint with when I feel bad, and I think it's the best way for me, like express with art the things. And since I'm doing that, I feel better about that. And I think it's interesting that you feel it also in some time of your life, because sometimes we feel we're alone and so many people can feel the same thing as you.
Okay. What about the other guys, Karen and Jesus? How do you control like this kind of thoughts? I don't know, Karen, Jesus. I think Karen is busy. But okay, let's come back talking about, for example, the favorite teams. Okay, so you mentioned about your family and something like that, but what about, for example, in the educational field? Have you lived, for example, like favorite teams in, I don't know, in the high school, here in the university with a teacher because it's so common. It's sad, but it's so common.
Yes, I was like a good friend of my Spanish teacher.
Oh, really?
Um, and I
In the
think he
high
had,
school?
yeah, in the high school. My last year in the high school, I have this friend with her, and I don't know. I think she was so inserting, and she became my friend. Now, in the moment, I, we are still friends, and yeah, I think she put me every single grade pretty good in my Spanish class. Uh, I don't remember I effort a lot. I think she have favoritism on me just for being her his friend.
So did she have like a preference with your friend?
Um, no, no, with me, because I
Oh,
was like a big fan of her. And
oh,
so,
okay, okay, okay. I think I understand. Okay, what about, well, Jesus or Karen?
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Karen.
Teacher, I just had both. Thank you for waiting me. Yes, teacher. For example, when we are in class, teachers usually have a favoritism. For example, and it is bad for some students because they they feel like they have a lower value, or they feel like they don't have the same capabilities. Or for example, education should be more inclusive because we don't have the same capabilities, and we have different talents and different skills, and we have to value all these kind of skills, teacher. For example, multiple intelligences.
Yeah, so do you think, Karen, that, for example, when a teacher has preference, this could affect the students' capabilities or skills?
Yes, teacher. For example, when a teacher has preferences, some students are involved and some students are not involved in class. So they feel like they have a low value, or they have less less participation, teacher.
Yeah, what do you think, Jesus or Mario, about this? Mario, are you agree with Karen?
Yes, yes, I agree. I think there is favoritism in every single aspect of the life. I mean, even happen in families. So, and it also in the high school and the school is going to happen always.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe Jesus wants to say something, or he is outside too. So okay, so next question. What does Dr. Winch say about loneliness? Loneliness, I think. Is the pronunciation? I forgot the pronunciation of the word. Sorry. Loneliness, I think is the correct way. So do you remember?
I think he say about that loneliness can cause problems with body health, um, and also that cause. Uh, he talk about a comparison with the smoking also.
Yeah, also he said that this creates like distorts thought or something like that.
And also something with the blood pressure.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I think it's important to identify when we are feeling pretty lonely because many times you are around many people but you feel alone, and
Yeah,
that's something that he said.
yeah, that's what I want to say because he mentioned that sometimes um he has uh, too many persons around him, but even he feels like alone and like that people didn't care about him. So
Yeah.
have you feel like that? Like you say, like I have friends, like my family, but I don't know why, but I'm feeling like lonely, alone. Have you feel like that?
Sometimes, yeah,
Um,
sometimes. I work in client service. I mean, I have to be with people all the time in my work.
yeah,
And sometimes when I finish my work and I think on or I have on a space to reflect about it, I think I feel alone, but I'm always with people, but sometimes yeah, I feel like alone. It's not all the time. It's I think it's mental
sometimes.
state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So do you think that these kind of thoughts are yours, or just it's a reality that happened in your life? Like you
No,
said,
no, no. At the end of the day, I have like a background support of people who are taking care of me, and it's just like a
it's
mental.
sometimes just our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also he mentioned like some risk that people uh, like who suffer about these presents. I don't know if you remember. Oh, yeah,
So
like maybe some risks that loneliness causes. I
um,
don't know if you remember. He mentioned like, for example, high blood pressure,
yeah, high blood pressure. I don't know. He say about anxiety also.
anxiety. Yeah,
Anxiety. Sorry. Um,
anxiety, depression. I think, and but he mentioned also like high cholesterol, something like that.
oh yeah, yes, that one too. Don't remember exactly what he said, but I understand that can cause problems with the health. No?
So yeah, you mentioned that you suffer of depression.
Um,
or something?
yeah, I was medicated like 3 months ago, and
Oh,
I'm feeling better right now.
yeah. I can understand what it's not the same, but I suffer about like anxiety, so I can understand it's really hard.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was afraid to take medication many times. I have a friend that is a doctor, and he always say me start the treatment. I think it is pretty normal to have depression in this day, so start to take the pills. And I was thinking a pretty long time, and when I decided, I feel better. I really feel better
Yeah,
about
but you're so
it.
strong to decide to do it because if
It
you need.
was like a break moment when I say, this is really affecting my day life, no? And sometimes I feel like this feeling of something bad is going to happen,
But
but
for the
most
component, sorry,
time.
but for the components of the pill, or
No, no. After I start the medication, I feel like every bad thing is going to happen to me, or all the time. I feel that feeling of something bad is going to
okay,
happen.
it's just for the fact that you have to do it.
Yeah, and in that moment when I feel in that way, I take the decision of to start the medication. And yeah, after like 15 days, 20 days, all the feelings was like low and start to disappear.
Yeah, I understand. As I mentioned before, like I suffer about anxiety, but well, I remember that like 3 years ago was so hard because so my anxiety, it's like I don't know how to say this in English, but it's like a phobic, but
Mm.
like outside to socialize or something like that. So
Oh,
even
I
yeah,
can relate to that. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how is the name of that, like social
Mm, I don't
social
remember.
phobic, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I can relate to that and I understand. Sometimes being with many people is something that I don't really like also. I don't know why. After the medication, I was pretty much good about that.
Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, like 3 years ago, wow, for me was so hard, and and I remember that I say so I was studying, of course, but I say I don't know how I'm gonna do when I have to do my pedagogical practice or something like that, and but I think that also I improved this, like I have to I don't know how to say, like enfrentar like this situation when I travel to United States,
Okay.
because I have to take care of kids, and all time I have to go outside and do different activities with them, and yeah, so I think that this helped to me a lot in this aspect, but yeah, I
And
understand that it's really hard.
how you deal with that? You take medication or something natural or
No,
something? No? You
no,
don't.
nothing,
That's
nothing.
beautiful.
Yeah, no medication, nothing, but it was like a shock when when I arrived to United States, because it's a big country, it's a lot of people, it's a different culture and different language, and what's really hard when I have to go outside to buy like things, to go to a store, or even to go outside with the kids and to socialize with the host family. So, but I say like I don't know how, but I think that I have the control of my mind, and I say, okay, this is my dream. So I decide to come here, and I need to improve my English. I need to improve the language, and I choose this. So I have to do it. So I can do it. But yeah, was at the beginning was so hard. So I understand. It's really hard to have
Yeah.
these kind of situations. Yeah. I don't know if maybe Karen or Jesus wants to say something about this.
Yes, teacher. For example, we usually as people feel lonely, and it doesn't matter if we have family members or friends around us, because I can't explain why, but some days we feel lonely.
Yeah, but sometimes it's also because when you talk with a friend and you say like I feel like in this way, I feel so sad, and but I think that nothing like makes sense or something like that, people say like, oh, it's everything in your mind, it's just your mind. So it, yeah. So I don't know, what do you think, Mario
Yes, teacher. Yes, and it is
or
like
Karen?
a feeling of we are empty inside, and we don't know how to go out of this feeling. And some people judge us because they say you are so weak, you have to be brave, but we sometimes cannot do it, teacher.
Yeah, but it's sometimes because people don't give like importance to this kind of uh, disease. I don't know, Mario, if you want to say something. Like for example, what was the reaction of your family when you talk with them about the depression of about that you have take the took the decision to take medicine for that?
Um, at the beginning, they don't like see difference, but after like a month of the medication, I start to be more with them because I tend to be alone for my own reasons. It's not just something that,
So yeah,
uh,
you need your own space in that moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I start to share more with them and to be more with them, and they see the improvement of my behavior. And I think that's a pretty good thing of the medication. I don't have to take it for all the life. It's just like 1 year, and I hope everything goes well with this. I mean, I feel better about everything right now. I'm like a better student also, um, and I think that we have to take care of our mm, own health, our mental health, and at the end of the day, think and normalize all these situations because it happened, and we are not alone with this.
Yeah. So they agree with your decision.
Yeah, yeah, they agree with my decision. Also, about what Karen was saying, in the video, he talked about a lady who was in a date, no, and she said that a friend told bad things to her, and it was herself telling bad things to her.
Yeah. She say also we usually face loneliness, teacher, no matter if we have several people around us. Yeah, that's really true. It's true. So, okay, so what's Dr. Winch point out when talking about the three toddlers in the daycare center? I don't know if you remember, he mentioned like a situation in the daycare center with three kids. I don't know if you, I don't know if you remember that. It
To be
was about
honest, I
a
don't.
game.
Teacher, I don't remember that part. I don't know why.
Okay, so he mentioned like a game that consists in that three children have to press like a red button
Oh my
to
God.
get a toy. So and he said that, for example, the first child like press the purple button, and so that is to say the wrong button, and when she was that the toy didn't come out, like she got frustrated. So so the situation that the man of the video like talk about is more about the frustration or something like that. But yeah, and he said that the first kid like cried, and then the second one only observed the situation, and and even he didn't like try, and but say that the last kid tried pressing all the buttons until he got the toy. So what do
Oh.
you think about that?
So I think he's talking about our decisions in life and how our positive energy also can, um, how to say that in
Yeah,
English?
but also I think he talks about the way in which we handled the frustration, for example, because the three children had the opportunity to get the toy, but only one child was able to handle like the frustration in the failure.
It's how we face the life, no? It's
Yeah,
our own decisions.
yeah. Karen, you want?
Uh, yes, teacher. For example, I think we have to know how to manage our emotions and feelings because if we don't manage them, they control our reactions to complex issues or complex situations in life, like what happened with the three children. So we have to manage all these emotions very well to control our self reactions.
Yeah, but do you think that control our emotions is easy or it's hard?
It's really hard, teacher. But for some people, I think, and I think when we face challenges in life, we become more stronger because we usually have experience about a complex situation and issues. So we we have a strong character, teacher, or a
Yeah.
strong mood.
Okay. I don't know if Jesus wants to say something. Okay. Mario, the same question. Do you think that it's hard to control the emotions or it's easy? Oh, it depends of the person.
It depends on the person in the moment. Um, for me, it's hard because I think I'm pretty emotional.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
so
Don't worry.
it's hard for me. But I think for some persons it's pretty easy. It's like the person, to be honest. Because I have a friend who doesn't show any emotions in these kind of situations when he have, and I think he's always so polite with that. But I think he at the end of the day he feel bad about it and getting to his mind. So it's like every person handle the situations in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, I think the same, and I think also that me too. I'm so like emotional, but sometimes I think that there are situations when you have to be strong. I, for example, when I lost my mom when she was sick,
Oh my
like
god.
like 6 years ago. That was really hard for me because I mean I don't have like brothers, so I didn't grow up with my father, or yeah, and I don't have a good relationship with the rest of my family, so I have to live like this situation alone, and was really hard. So
Oh
even
my
if
God.
I was if I were like emotional, I have to face this situation, and I have to see her in the hospital and with a brain tumor. And I remember that when the doctors told me that, okay, so your mom is gonna die. She only has like 2 months of life, and yeah, was really hard. But sometimes we have to face this situation even if we are like emotional persons.
So difficult moment, teacher. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't imagine that, to be
was
honest.
was really hard because I have to see her like in the hospital, and I have to take care of her. And well, when she died was really hard because I feel like, oh my goodness, now I don't know what I'm gonna do with my studies, because in that moment I was studying in another university, in a face-to-face university, and I had to leave like my studies in that university, and I feel so frustrated because I say now, um, I want a study. I don't have like economic support. I don't have a like I don't know, like family, like emotional support
Yeah,
to continue. So yeah, was really hard. So that's why I say that sometimes even if we are emotional people, um, yeah,
we have to
we have
face
to
it. Yeah.
we have to face this situation even if we like don't want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to say something else.
No, I think I really enjoyed the video. I also watched the one from the tomatoes and this kind of tech tools. I think it's the name of this program are pretty good. I really like this kind of videos, and I think I learn a lot of many things that I don't have in my daily life. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think this was an interesting topic. So, okay, guys. So I think this is all for today. So, I think next week it's our last class. Give me one second. I'm gonna stop the recording to say something. Oh my God.
Yeah, teacher, I have a question about the journal.
Oh
Cause
yeah.
we don't have class the last week, and I don't know how to put in the journal if do it about the
Oh,
video.
you can put like a screenshot about the presentation maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
PowerPoint.
okay. I'm
and
doing like
and
a normal class.
maybe, yeah, and maybe with your face in the video, two screenshots about the PowerPoint presentation and about your
Okay.
video.
Yeah, yeah. I will do that. Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Okay, do you have another question?
No.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. See you next week. Bye bye, have a good day.
See you, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.